Hi, this is Michael Anthony Peroutka, Anne Arundel County Councilman for District 5, analyzing Bill number 8214. The public hearing and vote on this bill was scheduled for January 5th, 2015. Now, this is an ordinance concerning zoning and what is known as workforce housing. This bill seeks to remedy existing legislation, which was Bill 5611, which allowed special exceptions for workforce housing in certain residential zoning codes. This bill seeks to eliminate workforce housing as a special exception use in R2 and R5 residential zoning districts. Now, the outcry from community leaders, organizations, and citizens has been fierce regarding one such project in District 5. And this has not been the only time that citizens have testified against similar projects in the county. Community leaders, and more significantly, many residents, expressed their cogent and sometimes strident objections with the developer's plan to build 84 units at a site which is now zoned as R2. And without the granting of a variance, this site would only accommodate approximately 8 dwellings. So this high-density special exception was a direct violation of the small area plan. So let's go to our questions, our 10 questions about each bill. Question 1 is designed to determine if the bill violates the U.S. Constitution. In my view, this bill does not. In fact, I believe this measure tends to strengthen Fifth Amendment and English common law protections by disallowing what many citizens believe amounts to social re-engineering of communities by outside organizations, and by defending the small area plan and the current zoning. Question 2 is designed to determine if the bill violates the Constitution of Maryland. Again, this bill does not. In fact, this bill tends to increase property protections and provides for greater self-determination in local communities. The Maryland Declaration of Rights contains 4 provisions which actually protect property rights. Articles 5, 15, 19, and 24 all deal with the guarantee of these rights. Question 3 is designed to determine if the bill violates the Anne Arundel County Charter. This bill, in my view, does not violate the Charter. Question 4 asks whether the proposed legislation is in accordance with biblical standards for law and government. In my view, this law supports the biblical principle of local governance by restoring control back to local communities as cited in Exodus chapter 18. Question 5 asks if the legislation negatively impacts citizens' rights. Well, this legislation tends to restore the right of self-determination in local government, thus allowing greater personal liberty and economic freedom and the protection of personal property. Question 6 asks whether the timeframes were adequate for appropriate review and consideration of the legislation. The bill was proposed within the Charter timeframe and circulated for coordination prior to inclusion on the legislative calendar, so I believe it meets that requirement. Question 7 asks whether the terms used in the legislation are clearly defined. Well, this bill removes the authority for special exceptions in R2 and R5, and there does not seem to be any problem with the clarity of the bill's terms and its meaning. Question 8 concerns personnel appointments and does not actually apply here to this bill. Question 9 asks whether funds are being generated by the legislation, and again, this does not apply in this case. And question 10 asks whether the legislation calls for spending, and if so, whether that spending satisfies a cost-benefit analysis. And again, that question doesn't seem to apply here. Interestingly, workforce housing is part of an Internal Revenue Service program by which developers apply for and are granted certain tax credits. And these tax credits are then marketed to insurance companies and banks and other investors for whom the tax credits are valuable. And the proceeds from the sale of these IRS tax credits are then used by the developer to fund the workforce housing project. And the project is further designed to make a percentage of the dwelling units available for those who qualify by having limited income using housing and urban development policies. Now, in addition to the overwhelming objections of the taxpayers and neighbors of my district, I find myself agreeing with those who object to our neighborhoods being socially re-engineered and our property values and lifestyles determined by outsiders and by IRS and HUD bureaucrats. For my part, I would rather see real, true market forces in play. I would rather the people of Anne Arundel County work together to plan and to manage their own future in their own communities. And given all these considerations, I voted for the bill, and I'm happy to say that the bill passed. The vote was 4-3, with Mr. Walker, Mr. Fink, and Mr. Grasso also voting in favor. So I hope this review of my analysis of Bill 8214 has been helpful to you. This is Michael Anthony Peroutka, Anne Arundel County Councilman for District 5, and I thank you.